Senate Bill 3, the Texas Education Savings Account Tax Credit Scholarship Bill, passed the Texas Senate last week. The bill was amended multiple times before it passed with a vote that fell predominantly along party, ethnic, and financial lines. Originally proposing to create an education savings account program for all students across Texas, the final version is much more limited in what it actually accomplishes. So, what does Senate Bill 3, or SB3, propose to do? The bill would create two new education programs: education savings accounts and tax credit scholarships. Education savings accounts would allow parents of eligible children to take a portion of the tax dollars they would normally pay into public schools and instead receive those funds, most likely on a state-provided debit card, to put toward a variety of education-related expenses, including tuition and fees at accredited private schools, institutions of higher education, or online educational programs, textbooks or other instructional materials, fees for private tutors or teaching services, cost of transportation to and from a private school not to exceed $500, therapy or other services for a child with a disability, cost of computer hardware or software not to exceed 10% of provided funds, fees for nationally norm-referenced achievement tests such as the California Achievement Test or the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, AP exams or similar exams related to college or university credit, and finally the cost of breakfast or lunch at a private school. The funds cannot cover expenses for consumable supplies like paper, pens, folders, or notebooks, food other than the breakfast or lunch at a private school, or before school or after school childcare. While originally the bill defined an eligible child as any child who was born after September 1st, 2017, or any child who attended a public school for the entire previous school year, the final version of the bill limited eligible children considerably by removing the all children born after option and replacing it with two additional limitations. The first limitation being that a child must be a member of a household with a total annual income that is at or below 175% of the income guidelines to qualify for the National Free or Reduced Lunch Program, which is approximately an annual income of $42,500 for a family of four, and the second limitation being that the child reside in a public school district located in a county with a population of 285,000 or more based on the 2010 census, which limits the program from the original statewide 254 counties down to 18, these 18 to be more specific. The revised bill does provide an option for residents in the other 236 counties to vote at a general election to allow children in their county to participate in the program, but it requires a petition with 5% of the registered voters to trigger the vote. So, if a child is eligible for the program, how much can they receive? A parent can receive up to 75% of the state average maintenance and operations, or M&O, expenditures per student, an amount a recent financial audit puts at approximately $6,800. If a child has a disability, the parent can receive up to 90% of M&O, or $8,200. Parents would receive these funds each year, and any unused funds would roll over to the next year. This would continue until the child was no longer eligible to participate, which happens 3 months after the child graduates from high school, or when a child enrolls in a public school, including an open enrollment charter school. Finally, any unused funds after a child is no longer eligible would roll back into the overall Education Savings Account Program Fund. And that's ESAs in a nutshell. The second program, tax credit scholarships, are similar in purpose but different in function. Rather than a savings account with a specified amount of money sitting in it, the tax credit scholarships are funded by donors via education assistance organizations. These are non-profit organizations that are allowed to accept money from donors and then use that money to provide scholarships to eligible students. Similar to the education savings accounts, these funds are limited to the same educational expenses, and only certain students are eligible to apply for and receive funds from this program. The eligibility requirements are similar to the ESA requirements: reside in a county with 285,000 or more residents and attend public school the preceding year. However, this program specifies that the students must also either be in foster care, be in institutional care, have a parent who is on active duty in the military, reside in a household with an annual income less than 175% of the free or reduced lunch limits, or is in a school district special education program. These education assistance organizations are allowed to earn tax credits that could relieve them of up to 50% of their state tax liability, or $25 million, whichever is less. The fiscal note attached to the original Senate Education Committee version of the bill had the overall 5-year cost of this bill at $218 million in state funding. That number is expected to be much smaller due to the restricted eligibility guidelines, but we can't know for sure because the Senate passed the bill without first getting an updated fiscal report. All of this, however, is contingent upon the bill passing the House Committee on Education, which, if we are to take the committee's chair, Representative Dan Huberty, at his word, is very unlikely. When asked if a voucher or ESA bill sent to the committee from the Senate was dead on arrival, he responded with a simple, "Yes, I believe so."